Hey, what's up? This is Laidback Luke, DJ and producer, Kung Fu athlete, and dedicated dad. Gotta give a shout out to Time, a nightclub in Costa Mesa in Orange County, California. Such an incredible time I had. So many people coming out. It was crazy. And it's crazy, it's been a while since I did a producer tutorial, and so we're gonna fix that today. First up, I have a new release out on my label Mixmash Deep. It's not by me, it's by a duo named Smack, and their new track Selecta is out right now. Make sure to check the link below for this new fire. And shout out to the fire on the comments from last week. Seems that Kevin Hill has been called out for the melody that he's stolen from the Brooks Slam FM challenge. And so a shout out to the number 1 and 2 comment from last week, Noah and Givak, who were saying this, and people responded, and a lot of the comments were that. Very happy you enjoyed the demo vlog. Remember, if you have a demo for me and it's really good, it's something that I play, something that I would sign, something that's familiar but different and easy to grab as a DJ, make sure to leave them on laidbackluke.com on the demo drop. But before you drop the demo in my demo drop box, make sure to watch this vlog, because we're gonna get funky, diving into Ableton's warp settings and how to get your hi-hats and snare drums groovy. Let's find out right now. Okay, let me first dive into some warping with you. We're gonna go into the folder of my Calvin Harris Giant remix. I've been getting all the stems of this and I've been working on an official remix. More news on this soon. What I'll just do is I'll just grab all of these momentarily and we'll put them in Ableton. Holding down the command key, I'll just drop them in there. And so what you see is Ableton will make an overview, like a little waveform there. And when it does that, it adds a little warp marker here. So what you see right now, the BPM is 128. And what I usually do if I make a bootleg, but an official remix as well, is I'll just Google the BPM of the original mix, which I can then use in my warping right here. Okay, this one is pretty good. I wanted to show you that sometimes the BPM is off here, but it registered it as 122, which is amazing. Very happy with that. But then just let us get to this as an example. Say there's more warp markers here, and what I'm doing is I'm like double clicking it. And say this warp marker has a 127 BPM registered, and this warp marker has 125 BPM registered. And so whenever you press the warp marker, you can adjust the BPM. So say your project pops up and there's all these warp markers here. What I'll usually do is I'll just delete them. So I'll just select them like this and just then press the delete button and they're gone. Say this would be 128 as well, which would not be the right BPM. So I would notice that and I would catch it and I would be like, oh, okay, this needs to be 122. So this way, all the stems in here, even if the BPM of my project is 128, are on point. Okay, so I'll get back to warping in a little bit. For now, I am just gonna program some hi-hats. So I'm just gonna look into here, the 909 core kit in Ableton. Let me just make a 1-bar MIDI file here. I'm just going to program some closed hi-hats because we're going to dive into the grooves right now. So this is the regular hi-hat and this is the closed hi-hat. Okay, let me just put this in a loop and we'll see how this sounds. Okay, let me just put like a tick in the middle so you can actually hear. Okay, pretty good already, right? We have a little housey hi-hat going on, but something is missing. And what's missing right here is the swing. So the housey feel you get in certain hi-hats, certain snare drums, or in certain tracks is the groove actually. So now all the 16 notes of the whole project are very, how would I explain that to you? Very straight on the grid. There is no groove in there. There is no shuffle. So we're going to find that shuffle right now in Ableton right here. So where to find that is looking into the groove menu right here by pressing this little symbol here. Over here you see all the grooves. So for instance the MPC right here, these are the legendary Atari grooves that a lot of the old house records were made upon. And if you're looking at swing, I would always suggest looking at the 16 swing. Funkier, you can go funky, you can go swinging here. My go-to swing, however, is the Logic swing. Some of you might not know, but I used to be in Logic before I went to FL Studio, Fruity Loops back then. And then after I went into Ableton. So, but the swings in Logic were awesome as well. And I always use this little section here, the Logic 16 swing. And yeah, so when you press it, over here is like a sneak preview of how the swing sounds. So let's listen to it. So this one is still pretty straight. See if you can hear the difference here. This is a little bit funkier. More funky, and I think this will be extremely funky. Yeah, you hear that? So these are all 16th notes, but what they do is in between the 16th notes, they'll just move the note a little bit. I'll show you right here. So if I would draw it out, the swing would actually do this. It would move this note out here and this note. Oh, not this note, sorry. This note and this note out here. It would actually leave these notes. This is on the placement of the kick drum. This is on the placement of the hi-hat. It would leave these notes intact, but it would move the notes in between. So let's hear that. So see if you can hear the difference when we play like a hi-hat loop. Okay, so this is straight. Okay, so selecting all the notes. Okay, first up is going to be the swing 50. Let's see what this does. Double clicking this. Okay, a little bit of swing there. So this is the extreme swing on the 70. Hear the difference. You hear that? Super funky right now. 60 is already pretty extreme actually. But now you can hear the funk. You hear that? Okay, maybe you don't get it yet. Let me program a snare roll. Okay, doing the same thing. Creating like a little MIDI section here, and I'm just going to take the 909 snare. Let me program this on the 16th here, just drawing it out. Okay, so a climax. Now we have a climax right here. Okay, so let's just dive into the groove for this one. Okay, so without swing, with super swing, so you can hear it. Double clicking this. That's crazy, right? So the 60 is already quite the heavy swing. You hear the difference? Okay, so this is without, none. Very static. And this is with the swing. Okay, so that's pretty awesome, right? So you can really make your track a whole lot funkier using these type of grooves and these type of swings. But there's one big rule, kind of like a rule of thumb that you should keep in the back of your head. So if you use a certain swing in a track, you should use it on all your elements. And so you don't necessarily need to go into this menu and go and look for your swing. The swing you previously used, you can just find here. So say going back into the hi-hats, selecting all the notes, and the swing would be right here. Super easy and super fast. And so now I'll show you why you should always use the same swing in the whole of your track. So say for instance, I'm going to layer the hi-hats and the snares. So the hi-hats, you know, how about I keep them funky? Okay, so the swing is still in there. This one, I'm just going to select none. So now let me see how this sounds. So for the untrained ear, this may sound fine, but now basically all the in-between notes of the hi-hats, they clash with the snare drum. How about I make it more obvious and I'll put more 16th notes in here. Okay, so the hi-hat solo, super funky. Okay, now with the snare. So now you hear it better. It's almost as if they're not syncing. And this is good to keep in the back of your mind as well when you're DJing, when you have like really funky tracks that have a certain swing or a groove to it, and you want to mix them in with, like, you know, the more static programmed tracks. This will always be a little bit of trouble trying to get them right in the mix. And even when the kick drums are perfectly on top of each other, this will always give a little bit of clash when mixing. So keep this in the back of your mind. Okay, so we're gonna keep in this little project, and I'm just gonna load in a drum loop. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a funky breakbeat, drag it in here. Just gonna use the 1 bar. So obviously you can see here all the elements used and how the groove is. So for instance, if I would drag in like a disco loop is drummed by a real drummer, and sometimes the real drummer is like just a tiny little bit off the grid. How to fix that? So what I would do is I would double click here, add warp markers right here. Let me just add all the 16th in this this breakbeat right here. So I'm just going to make this my own sample. So this is joined, and let me just add 16th right here. So this is just for you as an example, so I can get my point across. Okay, let's see how this sounds. Okay, so now we have this sample, which is pretty straight on the grid, and now I want to make it funkier. So again, I'm gonna add all the warp markers here. So selecting these, right click, insert warp markers. Boom, all is warped right here. And now it's swinging because so this is without, and this is with the swing. Obviously we can again like pick the super swing. Here it is. And so you can see, even if you use sample loops in your track, you can always grab that little swing you've been using in your whole track, add all the warp markers in there, and everything will be in its place and in time in the same swing of things. And so if you appreciated this tutorial, make sure to leave me a thumbs up, and for the coming next couple of weeks, I have some awesome vlogs in store for you. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right now though to not miss out. Make sure to not miss out on my hashtag LaidbackLukeFit playlist out on Spotify. I am open for suggestions, so make sure to check down the link below and hit that follow button to see your request in there as well. Next week, some time for the Kung Fu athlete in me, and we're gonna dive into the pistol squat. I'm gonna be making a vlog with my Kung Fu cousin, Sifu Cuddle. Make sure to check his channel out. Apparently he has ways for you to be able to learn the pistol squat through Kung Fu. How about that? I'm super excited for that. The week after will be a candid vlog because I'm taking Mixmash out to Japan. So I'm gonna do some classic vlogging again. I'm excited for that as well. Make sure to catch me back here next week. Until then, L's up, rave safely, and salute.